Bounce back ability. I love this word. I think the first time I ever heard it was at a motivation/positive psychology event I attended at work somewhere around 2006. It sounds fun, light, almost like a skill one picks up in a weekend workshop. But let me be clear, in the high-stakes world of CEO-level leadership, the ability to bounce back, to be resilient, is merely a baseline expectation. Enough for admission to the game, not enough as a winning strategy. Intentionality with Paul Kempff, for people who lead with intention and live with impact. Today we are going beyond the generic advice easily Googled, or should I say AI'd. We are moving beyond take a breath or find a hobby. In this episode of IWPK, we explore how to intentionally engineer a version of yourself that doesn't just endure the chaos of leadership, but actively thrives within it. If you are tired of the exhausting cycle of merely surviving the pressure of leadership and are ready to start using it as fuel, then you have arrived at the right place. This is engineered resilience. The fourth secret in my series, 20 Secrets to Becoming a CEO so you can do it in less than 20 years, is all about resilience. Now, I actually believe I know what you're thinking at the moment. Resilience is not a secret, Paul. It's obvious. Everyone has to have resilience in their lives. Nothing secret about this secret, Paul. But here's what I think you might be missing in your thinking. I have come to realize that it takes a special level of resilience, an almost unnatural level of resilience, to be able to handle the pressures of leadership, especially at the highest level. The secret, in my experience, lies in three uncomfortable truths about this level of resilience I'm talking about: engineering, radical accountability, and loneliness. Most aspiring leaders operate under a dangerous misconception. They believe that the resilience which helped them survive a bad quarter or navigate a difficult manager is the same resilience that will sustain them at the helm of an organization. The resilience levels that was good enough to get you promoted in the past are unfortunately no longer enough if you want to occupy the corner office. The pressures at the CEO level are not just quantitatively higher, they are qualitatively different. You are no longer managing tasks, you are managing the collective psychological safety and financial future of an entire organization. Resilience is not a passive personality trait you were born with. Yes, most of us have some level of resilience in our lives that does come naturally over time. CEO-level resilience, however, is an engineered capability. It is the architectural integrity of your leadership, built through intentional design, rigorous discipline, experience, patience, and a conscious shift from reacting to events to architecting your response to them. To ascend to the top of leadership, we must first address a fundamental limitation in our professional vocabulary. If you define your objective as merely bouncing back, you have already accepted that your current state is your peak performance. This is the definition of resilience, the ability to resist change and return to a previous equilibrium. While admirable in middle management, this mindset can be a liability on an executive leadership level. As Nassim Nicholas Taleb articulates in his seminal work on the subject, there is a category of resilience that thrive on disorder, chaos, and stress. He calls this antifragility. An anti-fragile CEO does not merely survive a crisis. They emerge from it fundamentally improved. Think of it as the difference between a sponge, resilient, it returns to its shape, and a muscle, anti-fragile. The stress of a workout actually creates the growth. Consider for a moment two great examples of anti-fragility. First, the 2008 financial crisis. While fragile firms collapsed and resilient firms scrambled to reclaim their previous margins, the truly anti-fragile leaders used the volatility to acquire talent, iterate their business models, and capture market share while their competitors were paralyzed by the shock. They viewed the economic catastrophe not as a threat, but as an opportunity for improvement. Second example, the global supply chain crisis of the early 2020s. While fragile companies focused solely on cost-cutting and weathering the storm, anti-fragile organizations viewed the volatility as a market signal. Instead of merely trying to survive the shipping delays, they used the chaos to accelerate the decentralization of their distribution centers and invested heavily in predictive AI forecasting. By the time the world stabilized, these firms had built a logistical architecture that was faster and more profitable than their pre-crisis models. They didn't just bounce back, they leveraged the disorder to widen their competitive moat. The takeaway is clear. Stop asking, how can I return to normal? And start asking, how does this specific challenge force my organization to become invincible? When you intentionally redesign your workflow to be tested by volatility, rather than shielded from it, you stop being a caretaker of the business and start becoming its architect. This evolution into anti-fragility is forged in the fires of radical accountability. As you climb the ladder, the safety net of mid-level management disappears. The pressure cooker is hotter than ever, and there is no room for the luxury of making excuses. You are the architect of your own outcomes. Everything is your fault. You are accountable for everything that goes wrong. The buck stops with you. When you realize this, when you make peace with the fact that failure or breakdown is not an option, you start to think differently. You start to show up differently. And if you do it enough, you will find your resilience levels moving up to a level you have never experienced before. By making peace with the fact that you are ultimately responsible and accountable, there is no one else to blame when the strategy falters. You strip away the performative nature of leadership. You stop acting to protect your ego and start acting to protect your organization. This is true anti-fragile resilience. Leadership sometimes feels lonely because it is lonely, especially from a certain level. On your way to the top, you have mentors, coaches, role models, teachers, people that can help you develop, help you grow, who you can run to when things feel overwhelming. As you get closer to the top, you often need to figure it out, find the resilience needed in the face of daunting challenges completely on your own. This loneliness often comes as a surprise and can be quite scary. You will feel the weight of this loneliness, not because you have failed, but because you have reached an altitude where peers become scarce. I want to be unequivocally clear regarding the reality of this level of resilience I'm talking about. While we aim for anti-fragility, we are all still human. The level of resilience required to shoulder the responsibility of an organization is immense. If you find yourself approaching the threshold of burnout or persistent mental fatigue, recognize that seeking professional support is not a concession of weakness. It is a strategic act of leadership. High-performance athletes employ recovery specialists. High-performance CEOs should have no shame in securing their own mental health. Your ability to sustain your impact depends on the maintenance of your most important asset, yourself. So, how do we build resilience for ourselves and the teams we lead? Again, if you are talking about a normal level of resilience that all of us require in life, the generic answers are enough. Prioritize your physical and mental health. Understand your values. Commit to what makes you happy. Find meaning at work. Remember humor. There are many other examples I can give you. But to lead a team, to be ultimately responsible for the fortunes of a company and the people that work there, your resilience looks different. accept the harsh reality of loneliness, embrace radical accountability, and engineer the resilience you require. And how do you engineer this resilience? Well, that is exactly what this series is about. Extracting the lessons of the 20 secrets I am sharing with you and integrating them into a strong strategy and a compelling leadership story. Your story. That is next level resilience. Last comment for this episode. Time for a very personal and necessary disclosure. I've been on a leadership journey for more than 2 decades, but I've been a CEO for less than 2 years. When I share what I've learned with you in these episodes, I am sharing with you my experiences, my lessons learned, my opinion on what I believe is necessary to succeed as a leader. This does not mean that I'm in any way doing everything I talk about perfectly every day. I'm still learning and always will continue learning how to be a better leader. As I have discussed in previous episodes, this continuous improvement is an important part of the secrets I am sharing with you in this series. Congratulations on completing another step in your executive evolution. You are laying the foundation for a leadership capability that is built to endure and thrive, regardless of the volatility ahead. You listened to this episode because you possess the ambition to lead at the highest level. That ambition deserves a system as resilient as your vision. In 2 weeks, we will move from resilience to the 5th secret in our series, seeking discomfort. We will explore why the most successful leaders purposefully hunt for the challenges that others flee from, and how you can normalize that discomfort in your daily routine. Thank you for investing your most precious resource, your time, in this pursuit of excellence. It does not always get easier, but with these systems, you will get undeniably stronger. I look forward to meeting you at the next level of your journey in our next episode. You've been listening to Intentionality, where we grow together. Please like, subscribe, and leave us a rating. And if this helped you today, share it with someone else on the same journey. Until next time, keep showing up with intention.